They say war is hell. Try coming home to this. I was 3,000 miles from civilization, eating sand and stale protein bars in a bunker that smelled like diesel and desperation, when my handler's voice crackled through the satellite phone. Shane, you need to get stateside, now. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'd been running covert ops for 15 years. You don't get urgent calls unless someone's dead or dying. My gut twisted before he even said the words. It's Emma. She's in the hospital. Critical condition. Emma, my 17-year-old daughter. The only good thing I'd ever done in this miserable world. What happened? My voice came out flat, controlled. Training. Her stepfather, Klay Jefferson. There was an incident. Shane? She's lost both legs below the knee. The phone felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The bunker walls seemed to close in. I'd faced enemy fire, IEDs, torture scenarios in training that would break most men. None of it compared to the white-hot rage that flooded through me in that moment. I'm on the next transport out. Shane, listen to me carefully. The local police are calling it an accident. Klay claims the riding mower malfunctioned while Emma was helping with yard work, but the attending physician noted inconsistencies. The injury pattern doesn't match the story. Where's Miranda? My ex-wife, the woman who'd left me because she couldn't handle the deployments, the secrecy, the danger. The woman who'd remarried some local construction foreman within a year. Standing by her husband, she's telling everyone it was a terrible accident. Of course she was. Miranda had always been good at believing what she wanted to believe, reality be damned. Get me on a plane. I don't care what strings you have to pull. 22 hours later, I walked into Denver Memorial Hospital under the name Michael Anderson. Fake ID, fake backstory, real fury barely contained beneath a calm exterior. The handler had arranged everything. Cover story, rental car, untraceable credit cards. The agency owed me that much after 15 years of bleeding for them in places that didn't officially exist. I found Emma's room on the 3rd floor. The antiseptic smell hit me first, then the sound of machines beeping steadily. She was awake, staring at the ceiling, her dark hair spread across the pillow. She had my eyes, sharp, observant, missing nothing. When she saw me, something cracked in her expression. Not tears. Emma didn't cry easily, but relief, raw and desperate. Dad, her voice was hoarse. You came. I pulled a chair close to her bed, took her hand carefully. Always, kiddo. Always. She glanced down at where her legs ended beneath the thin hospital blanket. Pretty messed up, huh? Guess I won't be running track this spring. Dark humor. My daughter, all right. Tell me what really happened. Emma's jaw tightened. He did it on purpose, Dad. Klay. We were arguing about college. I got accepted to Boulder, full scholarship. But he said I needed to stay local, help with his business, save money. When I told him he wasn't my real father and couldn't control my life, She swallowed hard. He told me I needed to learn respect. He said he'd teach me a lesson I'd never forget. My hands clenched into fists. The mower. He pushed me. I tried to get away, but he grabbed my legs and... She closed her eyes. I remember screaming. I remember Mom coming outside and just standing there, frozen. And I remember Klay's face. He wasn't panicked or sorry. He was satisfied. And Miranda? She's been here twice. Both times she begged me to stick to the accident story. Said it would destroy her life if people thought Klay was abusive. Said I must have misunderstood what happened because I was in shock. Emma's voice went cold. She chose him over me, Dad. Her own daughter. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low and steady. Listen to me very carefully, Emma. He's going to pay for this. Not just him, all of them. Everyone who hurt you, everyone who covered for him, everyone who chose convenience over truth. But I need you to trust me and do exactly what I say. Can you do that? She met my eyes, and I saw something fierce and unbroken there despite everything. What do you need me to do? First, you're going to let the doctors and nurses think you're traumatized and confused about the details. Don't contradict the accident story yet. Second, you're going to pretend you're willing to forgive Klay if he visits. Make him feel safe, like he got away with it. Third, you're going to tell me everything you know about him, his business, his friends, his secrets, his weaknesses. You're going to destroy him. I'm going to make him wish he'd never been born. A small, grim smile crossed Emma's face. Good, because I've been lying here thinking about all the things I wish I could do to him. Tell me your plan. We talked for 2 hours. Emma told me about Klay's construction company, his drinking buddies at the local dive bar called the Rusty Nail, his sketchy business partner Sasha, who was always lurking around the work sites. She told me about Mom's best friend Gina, who knew all the town gossip and had never liked Klay. She told me about Officer Rain, a decent cop who'd responded to the 911 call and seemed suspicious of the official story. Most importantly, she told me about the pattern. 2 men who'd crossed Klay in business deals had died in accidents over the past 3 years. One fell from scaffolding, another drove off a mountain road during a storm. Both times Klay had been nearby. Both times he'd benefited financially. He's not just an abuser, I said quietly. He's a killer. Can you prove it? I'm going to try. As I stood to leave, Emma grabbed my hand. Dad, don't hold back because of Mom. She made her choice. I nodded. No more second chances. For any of them. I left through the back stairwell and nearly collided with Miranda in the hallway. She'd aged since I'd last seen her. New lines around her eyes, her blonde hair shorter, her expression perpetually anxious. She froze when she saw me. Shane, what are you can't be here. She's my daughter. You gave up that right when you chose your job over your family. Her voice was shrill, defensive. You were never here, always gone, always putting us second. Klay has been more of a father to her than you ever were. The urge to tell her exactly what her wonderful husband had done was overwhelming. But I kept my face neutral, my voice calm. I just wanted to see that she was okay. She's fine. It was a terrible accident, but she's going to be fine. The doctors say she'll adapt to prosthetics. She'll have a normal life. We don't need you coming back and disrupting everything. I stepped closer, watching her flinch. I'm not going anywhere, Miranda. Not until I'm satisfied that Emma's safe and taken care of. Klay takes care of us. He's a good man, Shane. A good provider. He loves Emma like his own. The delusion in her voice was staggering. Does a good man let his stepdaughter lose both legs in a mower accident? Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. It was an accident. You weren't there. You don't know what happened. Klay is devastated. He blames himself every day. I'm sure he does. You need to leave. If Klay finds out you're here, it'll just cause more problems. Please, Shane. For once in your life, think about what's best for Emma instead of your own ego. I walked past her without another word. Behind me, I heard her pull out her phone, her voice dropping to a frantic whisper. Klay, he's here. Shane's back. I told you he'd come. What do we do? I couldn't hear Klay's response, but I didn't need to. I knew exactly what kind of man he was. Arrogant, controlling, convinced he was untouchable in his small-town kingdom. He was about to learn differently. The town of Pinewood, Colorado, population 8,000, was exactly the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business. Nestled in the mountains 30 miles outside Denver, it had 1 main street, 3 churches, 2 bars, and a gossip network that would put the CIA to shame. I checked into a motel on the edge of town under my Michael Anderson alias. The room was depressing. Stained carpet, flickering TV, a view of the parking lot. But I'd slept in worse places. Much worse. First priority, gather intelligence. I'd learned a long time ago that revenge without information is just violence. Effective revenge requires patience, planning, and intimate knowledge of your target's vulnerabilities. I started at the rusty nail. It was exactly what you'd expect. Dim lighting, country music on the jukebox, mounted deer heads on the walls, and a bartender who looked like she'd been there since the place opened in 1987. I ordered a beer and settled into a corner booth with a clear view of the room. It didn't take long. Small-town bars are intelligence gold mines if you know how to listen. Two guys in work boots and Carhartt jackets were talking loudly near the pool table. I'm telling you, something doesn't add up about that Jefferson girl's accident. My sister's a nurse at Denver Memorial, and she said the injury pattern was all wrong for a mower accident. Klay's always been a hothead. Remember when he got into it with Dave Patterson over that zoning dispute? Dave ended up falling off that scaffolding 2 weeks later. That was ruled an accident. Yeah, convenient accident. Watch your mouth, man. Klay's got friends everywhere. You don't want to end up like Dave. They moved on to talking about football, but I'd heard enough. The town had suspicions, but fear kept people quiet. Fear and Klay's carefully cultivated reputation as a successful businessman and pillar of the community. I nursed my beer and waited. Around 9 p.m., my patience was rewarded. Klay Jefferson walked in with two other men. I recognized him immediately from the photos Emma had shown me on her phone. 6'2", muscular build going soft around the middle, square jaw, thinning brown hair, and the kind of confident swagger that comes from never being seriously challenged. He was laughing, loud and performative, slapping one of his buddies on the back. I'm telling you, that Denver contract is going to set us up for the next 5 years. We're talking serious money. They settled at the bar. I watched Klay order a whiskey, watched how the bartender smiled at him, watched how other patrons nodded respectfully in his direction. He owned this room. He owned this town. Not for much longer. I pulled out my phone and texted Gina, Miranda's best friend. Emma had given me her number. This is Emma's father. I know you have doubts about what happened. Can we talk? The response came 5 minutes later. Coffee shop on Main Street. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't tell Miranda. I finished my beer and left before Klay noticed me. Outside, the mountain air was crisp and cold. I sat in my rental car and watched through the bar's window as Klay held court, the center of attention, untouchable. Enjoy it while it lasts, I murmured. The next morning, I met Gina at a place called Mountain Brew. She was a slim woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She slid into the booth across from me and didn't waste time on pleasantries. I've known Miranda since high school. She's like a sister to me, but I'm not blind. Gina's voice was low, urgent. Klay is bad news. I told her not to marry him, but she was so desperate to not be alone after you two split. She wanted stability, someone who'd be there every night. She got a controlling bastard instead. What do you know about the accident? I know Emma was planning to go to Boulder for college. I know Klay was furious about it. He wanted her to stay local, work for his company, basically be free labor. I know they had a huge fight the morning of the accident. And I know that when Miranda called me from the hospital, she was hysterical. But she kept saying, "It'll be okay, it was an accident. We just have to stick to the story." Gina leaned forward. Who says, stick to the story, about an actual accident? Did you tell the police this? I tried. Officer Rain seemed interested, but his chief shut down the investigation. Said there was no evidence of foul play, and the family's statement was consistent. I think Klay has connections in the department. His uncle is on the town council. Of course he was. What else should I know about Klay? Gina pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. This is Sasha Volkov. He's Klay's business partner, but everyone knows he's dirty. There are rumors of money laundering, drug dealing, insurance fraud. Klay keeps him around because Sasha handles all the questionable stuff, while Klay maintains his clean image. Where can I find Sasha? Usually at the construction sites. Klay's got 3 active projects right now: a housing development on the north side, a commercial building downtown, and a luxury lodge up in the mountains. That lodge project is Klay's baby. He's dumping everything into it, convinced it'll make him rich. I filed that information away. What about Miranda? How's she handling all this? Gina's expression softened with pity. She's in denial, deep denial. She can't admit she made a mistake marrying Klay, so she's doubling down, defending him, rewriting history. She's telling everyone that Emma was careless, that the accident was partly Emma's fault for not paying attention. It's like she's brainwashed herself. Or he's brainwashed her. Maybe both. Gina hesitated. Shane, what are you planning to do? Whatever it takes to make sure he pays for what he did to my daughter. Be careful. Klay is dangerous, and he's got this whole town in his pocket. If you go after him directly, you'll end up like Dave Patterson or Tom Reeves. Who's Tom Reeves? Another guy who crossed Klay, drove off Canyon Road during a storm 3 years ago. His wife swore Tom was an experienced driver who knew those roads like the back of his hand. But the police ruled it an accident, and that was that. 2 suspicious deaths. A pattern of violence and control. A network of protection. Klay Jefferson was more than just an abusive stepfather. He was a predator who'd learned to game the system. Perfect. Predators always have weaknesses. You just have to know where to look. I spent the next 3 days conducting surveillance. I'm good at being invisible. It's what I was trained for. A clipboard and a high-vis vest can get you into almost anywhere without questions. I watched Klay's construction sites, noting the workers, the schedules, the security gaps. I followed Sasha and documented his meetings with known drug dealers behind a warehouse on the industrial side of town. I photographed Klay's truck, his house, his routines, and I waited for the right moment. It came on Thursday night. Klay left the Rusty Nail around 11 p.m., drunk and belligerent after arguing with another patron about a Broncos game. He stumbled to his truck, a massive black Ford F-250 with custom rims and a vanity plate that read, KJ Boss. I waited until he drove away, then approached the truck's usual parking spot outside his house. Miranda's car was in the driveway, lights off inside, everyone asleep. I worked quickly, sugar in the gas tank, classic but effective. All 4 tires slashed, and across the driver's side door, in bright red spray paint, child abuser. It was petty, juvenile, but it was a message. You're not untouchable anymore. I was back in my motel room before Klay discovered the damage the next morning. I heard about it from Gina, who heard about it from Miranda, who was hysterical. Someone vandalized Klay's truck. This is Shane's fault. I know it is. He's trying to destroy our lives. Klay, according to Gina, was apoplectic with rage. He'd called the police, filed a report, and was now convinced that I was behind it. Which, of course, I was. He's asking around about you, Gina warned me over the phone. He knows you're in town. Be careful. Let him look. That night, I visited Emma again. She was in better spirits. Physical therapy had started, and she was already impressing the staff with her determination. When I told her about the truck, she actually laughed. I wish I could have seen his face. That's just the opening move. Now he's angry and paranoid. Angry people make mistakes. What's next? I need to get evidence. Real, solid evidence that he's not just an abuser but a criminal. Once I have that, I can destroy him properly. Emma's expression turned serious. Dad, there's something I didn't tell you before. About a month ago, I overheard Klay and Sasha talking in the garage. They were arguing about money, something about a shipment and payment. Klay said, "If you screw this up like you screwed up the Reeves situation, you're done." Sasha said, "Reeves was your call, not mine. I just made it look like an accident." My blood ran cold. They were talking about Tom Reeves? The guy who drove off Canyon Road? I think so. I didn't understand it at the time, but now... She swallowed. Dad, I think Klay had Tom Reeves killed, and I think Sasha did it. Did you tell anyone? Who would believe me? I was just the annoying stepdaughter, and I was scared. Klay had already threatened me a few times when Mom wasn't around. I knew if I said anything, it would get worse. And it had gotten worse, catastrophically worse. Okay, this changes things. If I can get Sasha to flip on Klay, we can bring him down for murder, not just assault. How are you going to do that? I smiled grimly. I'm going to give Sasha a reason to be more afraid of me than he is of Klay. The construction site for the luxury lodge was a sprawling mess of half-finished buildings, construction equipment, and stacked materials. It sat on a remote piece of mountain property, accessible only by a winding dirt road. Perfect for privacy. Also perfect for a confrontation. I arrived just after midnight on Saturday, dressed in black, carrying a burner phone and a digital recorder. The site was deserted except for a single trailer that served as the office. A light was on inside. I approached quietly and peered through the window. Sasha was alone, hunched over a desk covered in paperwork, a bottle of vodka within reach. He looked stressed, his oily black hair disheveled, his face pale and sweaty. I knocked on the door. Hard. Sasha jumped, knocking over his vodka. Who's there? Someone who wants to talk about Tom Reeves. Silence. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. Get lost. Tom Reeves drove off Canyon Road 3 years ago. You made it look like an accident, on Klay Jefferson's orders. The door opened a crack. Sasha's narrow face appeared, his eyes darting around nervously. Who the hell are you? Emma Jefferson's father, and I know what you and Klay did. I didn't do anything. You're crazy. Then you won't mind if I take what I know to the police. Or better yet, to Tom Reeves's widow. I'm sure she'd love to hear the details. Sasha's face went white. You can't prove anything. Maybe not yet, but I'm patient, and I'm very good at digging up dirt. How long do you think it'll take before I find something? A witness? A paper trail? A moment where you got sloppy? He licked his lips nervously. What do you want? I want you to tell me everything. Every crime, every shady deal, every time Klay ordered you to hurt someone. You give me that, and I'll make sure you get a deal with the police. You stay loyal to Klay, and I'll make sure you go down with him. Klay will kill me if I talk. Klay's going to have bigger problems than you very soon. Your choice. Take your chances with him, or take your chances with me. But decide fast, because my patience is running out. Sasha stared at me for a long moment, calculating. Then he stepped aside. Come in. But if Klay finds out about this, we're both dead. He won't. Over the next 2 hours, Sasha spilled everything. The drug dealing, the money laundering through fake construction contracts, the intimidation tactics, and yes, the 2 murders, Dave Patterson and Tom Reeves. Both had been business rivals who'd threatened to expose Klay's illegal activities. Both had been killed and staged to look like accidents. Sasha had done the actual work, but Klay had given the orders. I recorded every word on my phone. What about Emma? I asked. Did you know he was going to hurt her? Sasha shook his head quickly. No, man, I swear. I didn't know anything about that until after it happened. Klay called me, all panicked, said there'd been an accident. He needed me to back up his story if anyone asked questions, but I didn't know he'd... He trailed off, looking genuinely disturbed. I'm not okay with hurting kids, man. That's a line I don't cross. But you were okay with murder. That was business. This is different. I wanted to break his jaw. But I needed him functional and cooperative. You're going to testify against Klay. You're going to tell the police everything you just told me. And you're going to do it willingly, because if you don't, I'll make sure this recording ends up everywhere. The cops, the media, Klay's enemies. You'll have nowhere to hide. And if I cooperate? I'll talk to a friend in the DA's office. You'll get a deal. Reduce sentence in exchange for testimony. You'll do time, but you'll survive. That's more than you deserve, but it's what I'm offering. Sasha looked at the bottle of vodka like he wanted to drain it. Okay. I'll do it. But you have to protect me. Klay has people everywhere. I'll handle Klay. You just worry about staying alive long enough to testify. I left the trailer and was halfway to my car when I heard the roar of an engine. Headlights flooded the construction site. Klay's voice boomed through the darkness. "Sasha! Who the hell was that?" I ran. Behind me, I heard Klay's truck skid to a stop, heard his heavy footsteps pounding after me. "Hey! Stop right there!" I ducked behind a stack of lumber and kept moving, weaving through the construction site. The terrain was treacherous, piles of dirt, exposed rebar, half-dug foundations, but I'd navigated worse in war zones. I could hear Klay behind me, breathing hard, cursing. "I know it's you, Shane. You think you can come to my town and screw with me? You think you can turn people against me?" I circled back toward the main building, a 3-story skeleton of steel beams and concrete floors. I climbed to the second level, moving quickly and quietly. Below, Klay was searching, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. "You're a coward. Running away, hiding. Come down here and face me like a man." I waited until he was directly below me, then dropped a paint can. It crashed at his feet and he jumped back, startled. I used the distraction to move to the far side of the building and climb down. By the time Klay realized where I'd gone, I was in my car and driving away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him standing in the middle of the dirt road, illuminated by my taillights, fists clenched in impotent rage. "Hide and seek, with a side of karma," I muttered. The next morning, I delivered the recording to Officer Rain. He listened to the whole thing, his expression growing darker with each passing minute. When it finished, he leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face. "This is explosive. If it's authentic, this is enough to arrest both Klay and Sasha for murder, conspiracy, drug trafficking, and a dozen other charges. It's authentic. I can produce Sasha as a witness if you offer him a deal." Rain studied me carefully. "You know I should ask how you obtained this recording, but I'm guessing I don't want to know." "Probably not. Shane, I'm going to be straight with you. Klay Jefferson has friends in high places. His uncle is on the town council. His lawyer is the best in the county. Even with this recording, building a case is going to take time, and in the meantime, Klay's going to come after you. Let him try. I'm serious. He's dangerous. 2 men are dead because they crossed him. I'm not like those men. I've been dealing with dangerous people my entire adult life. Klay's just a small-town bully with delusions of grandeur." Rain sighed. "Okay, I'll take this to the DA and start building a case, but you need to be careful, and you need to keep Emma safe." "Already on it." I left the police station and headed back to the hospital. Emma was in physical therapy, working with parallel bars, her face set in determined concentration. When she saw me, she smiled. "How'd it go?" "We've got him. It's just a matter of time now." "Good." She paused, then asked, "What about Mom?" That was the question I'd been avoiding. "What about her? Are you going to do something to her too? For choosing him over me?" I sat down on a nearby chair. "What do you want me to do?" Emma was quiet for a long moment. Part of me hates her. Part of me wants her to suffer like I've suffered. But part of me just feels sorry for her. She's so weak, Dad. She's always been weak. She can't handle being alone, so she latches onto whoever will take care of her, even if they're terrible. She's pathetic. That doesn't excuse what she did. No, it doesn't. But I don't think she needs you to punish her. I think losing me is punishment enough. When this is all over, I'm never speaking to her again. She'll have to live with that. It was more mercy than Miranda deserved, but it was Emma's choice to make. Okay, I'll focus on Klay. Destroy him, Dad. Make him pay for every second of pain he caused me. I will, I promise. Over the next week, I escalated the pressure on Klay. I leaked the recording to a local journalist I'd contacted through an old military buddy. The story hit the Pinewood Gazette with the headline, "Local Businessman implicated in murder-for-hire scheme. It spread like wildfire through the small town. Suddenly, Klay's kingdom was crumbling. His construction contracts were put on hold pending investigation. His workers started quitting, not wanting to be associated with a potential murderer. His friends at the Rusty Nail stopped returning his calls. I also went after his finances. Using information I'd gathered from Sasha and some creative hacking, technically illegal, but I'd learned not to be too precious about legality when seeking justice. I discovered that Klay had been embezzling from his own company, hiding money in offshore accounts. I anonymously tipped off the IRS and the state tax board. Within days, Klay's bank accounts were frozen. His assets were under investigation. His lawyer was scrambling to contain the damage. And Miranda? According to Gina, she was falling apart. The social isolation was devastating for someone who craved acceptance and normalcy. Her friends were avoiding her. Her book club had asked her to leave. The grocery store cashiers whispered when she walked by. "She keeps calling me, crying," Gina told me over coffee. "She says it's all a misunderstanding, that Shane is orchestrating some kind of vendetta, that Klay is innocent. But even she doesn't sound convinced anymore." Has she visited Emma? Once. Emma refused to see her. Miranda stood outside the hospital room crying for 20 minutes before a nurse asked her to leave. Good. Let her feel a fraction of the pain she'd caused her daughter. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The breaking point came on a Friday night. I received a call from Sasha. "Klay knows I talked. He just called me. Said he's coming to deal with me. Shane, I'm scared. He's going to kill me." "Where are you?" "The lodge construction site. He told me to meet him here." "Get out of there, now." "I can't. My car won't start. I think he sabotaged it." I was already moving, grabbing my keys, running for my car. "Stay inside the trailer. Lock the doors. I'm on my way." I drove faster than I should have on those winding mountain roads, my mind racing. If Klay killed Sasha, we'd lose our key witness. Worse, another person would be dead because of this monster. I arrived at the construction site to find Klay's truck parked outside the trailer. The door was hanging open, and I could hear shouting inside. "You ratted me out, you little weasel, after everything I did for you." "Klay, please. I didn't have a choice. He had evidence. He was going to—" The sound of a fist hitting flesh. A cry of pain. I ran toward the trailer just as Klay emerged, dragging Sasha by his collar. Sasha's face was bloody, his nose clearly broken. "Let him go, Klay." Klay turned, and for the first time, I saw him up close. His face was red with rage, his eyes wild. He looked like a man who'd lost everything and had nothing left to lose. "You!" He dropped Sasha, who collapsed to the ground, gasping. "This is all your fault. You came back here and destroyed everything I built. My business, my reputation, my life. You destroyed your own life when you hurt my daughter. That little bitch deserved what she got. She was disrespectful, ungrateful, always talking back. I was trying to teach her a lesson." The admission hung in the air. I pulled out my phone, which had been recording the entire conversation. "Say that again. For the record." Klay's face went pale as he realized what he'd done. Then the rage returned, amplified. "You're dead. You hear me? I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill that crippled daughter of yours, and there's nothing you can do to stop me," he charged. I'd been in hundreds of fights, training exercises, real combat, bar brawls in foreign cities. Klay was big and strong, but he was sloppy, fueled by rage rather than technique. I sidestepped his first punch, drove my elbow into his ribs, then swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground hard but scrambled back up, grabbing a 2x4 from a nearby pile of lumber. He swung it at my head. I ducked, felt the wind of it passing over me, then moved inside his guard and delivered 3 quick strikes: stomach, solar plexus, throat. Klay dropped the board and fell to his knees, gasping for air. I leaned down close to his ear. "You're finished. The police have your confession. They have Sasha's testimony. They have evidence of your crimes, and soon the whole world is going to know exactly what kind of monster you are. You're going to prison, Klay, and in prison, they have a special kind of justice for men who hurt children." His eyes widened with fear. "Good. Let him be afraid. Let him spend every remaining free moment in terror, knowing what was coming." I called Officer Rain. "I'm at the lodge construction site. I have Klay Jefferson in custody, and I have a recording of him confessing to assaulting Emma and threatening to kill both of us. You might want to get up here." "Don't let him leave. We're on our way." I stood over Klay, who was still on his knees, breathing hard. Sasha had crawled away and was sitting against the trailer, holding his broken nose. "You think you've won," Klay wheezed. "But Miranda will never forgive you for this. She loves me. She'll stand by me." Miranda is weak and delusional, but even she can't ignore the truth forever. And when she finally accepts what you are, she'll have to live with the fact that she chose a monster over her own daughter. That's a prison of its own. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Klay looked up at me, and I saw the moment he realized it was truly over. The arrogance drained away, replaced by desperation. "Please, I'll do anything. I'll confess to everything. I'll make a deal. Just, please don't let them lock me up. I can't go to prison." "You should have thought of that before you hurt Emma." The police arrived. Officer Rain and 3 other officers. They arrested Klay on the spot, reading him his rights as they handcuffed him. He didn't resist, just hung his head like a defeated animal. Rain took my phone and listened to the recording. His expression was grim satisfaction. "This is more than enough. Combined with Sasha's testimony and the other evidence, we can put him away for a long time." "What about the murder charges?" "We're building that case. It'll take time, but we'll get there." They loaded Klay into the back of a police car. As they drove away, he looked at me through the window, his face a mask of impotent hatred. I stared back, unmoved. Sasha was taken to the hospital to have his nose set, with an officer assigned to guard him. Rain stayed behind to take my statement. "You know, Shane, you took a lot of risks tonight. If Klay had been armed, if backup hadn't arrived in time, I've taken bigger risks for less important reasons." Rain nodded slowly. "Emma's lucky to have you as a father. I'm lucky to have her as a daughter." The trial took 6 months to prepare. In that time, Emma made remarkable progress with her prosthetics and physical therapy. She was determined to walk across the stage at her high school graduation, and she did, with me in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. Miranda tried to contact both of us repeatedly. Emma blocked her number. I ignored her calls and messages. According to Gina, Miranda had filed for divorce from Klay, but was struggling financially and emotionally. She'd moved into a small apartment and was working as a receptionist at a dental office. "She asks about Emma constantly," Gina told me. "She wants to apologize, to explain, to make things right. But she knows Emma won't talk to her." "That's Emma's decision to make. What about you? Do you feel any sympathy for her?" I thought about it honestly. No. She had a choice at every step. To believe her daughter, to protect her daughter, to choose her daughter. She made the wrong choice every single time. Now she has to live with the consequences. The trial itself was a media circus. The small town of Pinewood had never seen anything like it. A prominent businessman accused of assault, attempted murder, murder for hire, drug trafficking, and embezzlement. The courtroom was packed every day. I attended every session, sitting directly behind the prosecutor's table where Klay could see me. Emma testified via video link, her voice steady and strong as she described what Klay had done to her. Several jurors were in tears by the time she finished. Sasha testified as well, detailing the murders of Dave Patterson and Tom Reeves. The defense tried to discredit him as a criminal seeking a reduced sentence, but the physical evidence backed up his story. Phone records, financial transactions, witness statements, it all pointed to Klay as the mastermind. The recording I'd made at the construction site was played for the jury. Hearing Klay's voice admitting that Emma deserved what she got and threatening to kill both of us sent a visible shock through the courtroom. The defense's strategy was to paint Klay as a man who'd made mistakes under stress, who'd lost his temper but wasn't a cold-blooded criminal. They tried to argue that the mower incident had been a tragic accident, that Klay's confession had been coerced under duress. The jury didn't buy it. After 3 days of deliberation, they returned with a verdict, guilty on all counts. Klay showed no emotion as the verdicts were read, but I saw his hands trembling. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. On sentencing day, Emma insisted on being there in person. She'd practiced for weeks, determined to walk into that courtroom on her prosthetics without assistance. She made it, her head held high, and I'd never been more proud. The judge allowed Emma to make a victim impact statement. She stood at the podium, gripping it tightly, and looked directly at Klay. "You took my legs. You took my sense of safety. You took my ability to trust people. You took my mother from me, because she chose you over me. But you didn't take my strength. You didn't take my future, and you didn't take my father, who came back and made sure you'd pay for what you did. I'm going to college in the fall. I'm going to live a full, happy life, and you're going to rot in prison, knowing that you failed to break me." There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom, except Klay's. He stared at Emma with dead, empty eyes. The judge sentenced him to 45 years for the assault on Emma, 2 consecutive life sentences for the murders of Dave Patterson and Tom Reeves, plus additional time for the other charges. With no possibility of parole for at least 60 years, Klay was 62 years old. He'd die in prison. As the bailiffs led him away, he looked at me one last time. I smiled. A cold, satisfied smile that said everything. You lose, I win, justice is served. 3 months later, Emma and I stood outside her dorm at the University of Colorado Boulder. She'd gotten her full scholarship, plus additional financial aid and support from a foundation that helped disabled students. Her room was on the first floor, accessible, with a roommate who seemed genuinely nice. "You going to be okay?" I asked. "Dad, I survived losing my legs and testifying against my abuser in open court. I think I can handle college." I laughed. "Fair point." She hugged me tightly. "Thank you. For everything. For coming back. For believing me. For making him pay. You don't have to thank me. You're my daughter. I'd burn down the world for you. I know. That's what scares some people about you. Good. Let them be scared." As I drove away from campus, my phone rang. It was Miranda. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want, Miranda?" Her voice was small, broken. I wanted to know if Emma got settled in okay, at school." "She's fine, no thanks to you." "Shane, please, I know I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but she's still my daughter. I love her. Can't you help me? Can't you talk to her? Ask her to give me another chance?" "No. Please. I'm begging you. I've lost everything. My husband, my home, my friends, my daughter. I'm alone. I just want a chance to apologize, to explain." "You had chances, Miranda. You had 1,000 chances to do the right thing, and you chose wrong every single time. Emma doesn't want to see you or hear from you. And honestly, you don't deserve her forgiveness. You don't deserve anything except to live with what you've done. You're cruel." "No, I'm honest. There's a difference. You chose a monster over your own daughter. You enabled him, defended him, and tried to make Emma doubt her own reality. Those were your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences, just like Klay is living with his." I hung up before she could respond and blocked her number. Emma had been right. Miranda's punishment was losing her daughter. That was justice too, in its own way. 6 months after that, I received a letter from Emma. She was thriving at college, making friends, excelling in her classes, even joining the adaptive sports program. She'd met a guy, a senior in engineering, who thought her prosthetics were cool as hell. She was happy. The letter ended with, "Dad, I know you're still out there doing your covert ops thing, saving the world in ways nobody will ever know about. But you saved me first, and that's what matters most. Thank you for showing me that justice isn't just an abstract concept. It's something worth fighting for, no matter the cost. I love you. Emma." I read that letter 3 times, then carefully folded it and put it in my wallet. She was right. Justice was worth fighting for, and sometimes revenge and justice were the same thing. I thought about Klay, rotting in a maximum security prison, surrounded by men who knew exactly what he'd done to a 17-year-old girl. I thought about Miranda, alone and ostracized, finally understanding the cost of her choices. I thought about Emma, strong and resilient, building a new life on her own terms. No more second chances, not for the people who'd hurt her, not for the people who'd failed to protect her. Only forward, only justice, only the knowledge that when evil comes for the people you love, you don't negotiate, you don't forgive, you don't forget, you make them pay, every single time.